In the year of 2004, for 4 weeks, people reading comic books were air quotes treated to a mini-series titled Wolverine Captain America. If you're wondering, this is exactly what it sounds like. The trade paperback collecting this miniseries only came out last year, which I assume was a way to catch the non-existent fans of the movies who then want to go and head into the comic books that the movies are based on. Oh, Wolverine was in First Class for like 3 seconds. He's in a comic book with Captain America from the Avengers movie. I am only assuming this was put into print for those people. I don't know if it did catch any of those fans, but it did catch someone who has been reading comics for over a decade. I got this book because I'm something of an X-fanatic, and I am on a delusional quest to capture all of the X-Men books that I can. That, and it was cheap, like $5 cheap. So is this book worth what I paid, or dare I ask, is it worth cover price? Well, conceptually, I would say yes. This is a team-up that is full of possibilities. Captain America is seen as the perfect human who is ideal in virtually every way. Wolverine is definitely not that. He's grumpy, cantankerous, and he's got a dark past, which, at this time, he did not even know about. That's how dark and mysterious it was. The two are polar opposites, and yet they've got so much in common. Both are products of experiments performed by the government. Captain America willingly went under the needle to become Captain America in a time when the country needed hope, and he became that hope. Wolverine is the product of a darker time period, when he was forcibly turned into a living weapon. The very circumstances of Wolverine's creation reek of a time where little hope existed, very similar to how Captain America was created. And yet Captain America became the hope, while Wolverine became just a part of the hopelessness that surrounded him. So there's definitely some possibilities in teaming these two up. But this story just doesn't do anything with those possibilities. In fact, all this story really does is have these two and Carol Danvers go after a terrorist group who has stolen a very dangerous piece of technology. That's really all that happens here. It is a story that, when you sit down and look at it, you wonder why it needed 4 issues to be told. Don't believe me? The first issue reveals that the X-Men found a computer chip in the mansion that is apparently Shi'ar in origin and is essentially a non-sentient mutant computer chip. Or if it is sentient, it shows no signs of being so. Don't worry, this chip is never explained, or if it is, it's not in this miniseries. It's basically a non-important piece of plot that propels the story, but has no significance beyond that. For some reason, the X-Men decide to contact the Avengers and ask them to analyze it. Remember, the X-Men have geniuses like Hank McCoy and Forge on their side, and these guys, in order to make the plot happen conveniently, can't examine this thing. But apparently, the Avengers can. Somehow, S.H.I.E.L.D. gets roped into this, and I can only assume that someone in S.H.I.E.L.D., or maybe all of S.H.I.E.L.D., is corrupt, and a group of terrorists/mercenaries called the Contingency steals the computer chip, while Forge is, I poo you not, walking alone to the Avengers mansion in order to deliver it to the Avengers. Folks, there's a reason why the X-Men and the Avengers have jets. This would have been an opportunity to take one if you're so worried about this chip falling into the wrong hands. So Carol Danvers, calling herself Warbird at this point, and Captain America team up with Wolverine, who is apparently the only X-Man not on a mission at this time, and they all go after this contingency group. Issue 1 ends with Wolverine lying face down in water after an encounter with the leader of the contingency. In all honesty, if you were reading this issue, you maybe could have read it faster than what it took for me to explain what happened. And the rest of the mini is worse. Issue 2 reveals that Wolverine's healing factor is not working quite right, but he soldiers on, and then the two Avengers and Wolverine have another encounter with the contingency. Issue 3 has the scientists at S.H.I.E.L.D. figure out why Wolverine's healing factor isn't working, and they fix him up. Issue 4, these three go after the contingency. They get the chip, but the leader of this organization gets away. See what I mean? There's no reason this could not have been a 2-issue mini, or even a prestige-sized one-shot. Not only does this story feel way too padded, but when stuff actually does happen, it's just not that compelling. I would have liked a story where we see some parallels in Wolverine and Captain America's past, and how they each react to the dangers of the world. They both have different worldviews. I know that if I've seen any of the movies with these two, or read any comic books with these two. And that should be something that this miniseries focuses on. And we get a very tiny bit of that in one of the issues. Wolverine and Cap both comment on how neither one has changed very much in the years, but there is no explanation of this. Likewise, Warbird is in this just as much as Wolverine and Captain America, and even does more than either of them really do, and yet she's not in the title? This is inexcusable. Warbird has a history with Logan, and I think that these two could have sustained their own miniseries where they go after some mercenaries, and it would have been just as good as what we got here. Granted, that's not saying much, but what I am saying is that I don't see why she is shafted in the title, but she is nearly crucial in the story. Heck, I'd be okay with both Cap and Wolverine being in the story if we got to see a little bit of Carol mediating between them. She's old friends with Logan and has been in many scraps with him, but she's an Avenger now, and so maybe she could have been the one to say, hey, Logan's a jerk right now, but he's got a point. Or, listen, Captain America is a little uptight, but he's not wrong here. We don't get any of that either. The mini ends in a way that seems to suggest that there will be a follow-up, but I don't know if there ever was. I was reading comics pretty voraciously at the time that this came out, but I honestly don't remember this mini, and I don't remember seeing the contingency very much at all after this story concluded. We do get what I think is an interesting reveal that the contingency was formed by S.H.I.E.L.D. to combat mutants. Captain America makes it clear to Agent Carter that this is unacceptable, and if he finds out that this project is continuing, then he will shut S.H.I.E.L.D. down. I guess this is a little bit of foreshadowing to the Marvel Civil War, where Captain America goes against S.H.I.E.L.D., but for entirely different reasons. Likewise, Agent Carter's explanation for being part of this contingency is that the humans don't really know which mutants they can trust or for how long. Now, while she does sound like an evil, despicable cad, she does kinda sorta have a point. I mean, after AVX, we have an entire branch of the X-Men who is untrustworthy, and one of which killed Charles Xavier. So, the reason behind the contingency is maybe not as bad of an idea as Cap would like to believe. But here's a question. Can't the same thing be said for the Avengers, or the Fantastic Four, or the Defenders, etc.? Why is Agent Carter only worried about mutants? What happens if Reed Richards gets a little too trigger-happy and decides that the world would just be safer if he was running things? Why isn't there a contingency for any superpowered human? Good guy, bad guy, mutant, or human? Just something to think about. This one part of the miniseries is maybe the most interesting part, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more exploration of this. Instead, it's basically just there to provide a plot element for this very boring, very typical story. Overall, I would say that there could have been a very good story in a team-up between these 2 or 3 characters, but this is not that story. This is barely a story at all, with absolutely no character progression or any real reason to read this ever. So if you were wondering if it was worth it, it's not. That's about all I have to say today, so if you liked this video, I hope you'll come back throughout the rest of the week to see some more videos, and hopefully I'll have a higher opinion of whatever I talk about next. Until then, I'll see you next time. Have a good day.